Alright, for today we are gonna look at facial rigging. So this is an example that I have done earlier. So in this case, if I would select the eye control and let me go to my channel box, I can open up my eyelids. Alright. And of course, at the same time, I would be able to move my control and have my eyeballs um, looking at where my control is. Right? And additionally, I can open up my lower jaw, kind of manipulate a little bit on the corners of my mouth. So let's say I want him to be a little bit depressed or, oh well, looking a little weird. Or manipulating the cheekbones. Okay, so there are a lot of things that we can add to the variety of our expressions. So we are gonna look at how to really put them together, just for starters. So let me open up my file. All right, so once I have my character, okay, and I have my head, and as you can tell from my layers, I will have my teeth and my character and my eyes, my eyeballs. All right. So first of all, most of the time, what I would always do is to create the necessary joints for um, whatever that we are going to use. So in this instance where we need to open our eyelids, I will set up a joint here. And looking at this, my joint is a little bit too big. So I can either, again, I can either scale down the radius, or I can go to my preferences and go to kinematics and make this joint a little smaller. All right. And I'm going to fit this joint close to the upper eyelids. Right. Just use your snap tool. You can use your point snap. All right. And duplicate and snap it to the next one. And again, you can use Control D to duplicate if I've forgotten how to use the shortcut, and move it across, okay, to these 3 points. Now again, if you want to use just a single joint, you will have a lot more restrictions when it comes to having a full control, especially if you have a lot more if your model is a lot more denser than what I have here, then you're gonna need more than one joint. One joint you can, well, kind of do it, but of course you will get less expressions. So what I would always do is just set up 3 joints. Okay, and of course the next thing is to really name them. Okay, so I have these 3 joints for the eyelids. Okay, and again I can duplicate and snap to this point, and this would be my cheekbone. I'm just going to create one more. All right. And I'm gonna put one more right in the middle. Again, it's really your own preference on how many joints that you want to set up. Okay. Okay, so once I kind of set up this, I'm gonna also quickly set up my neck joint and all the way to my head. Again, because this is looking at facial rig, so I'm just gonna really focus on this. If you want to understand again the rigging process for the body, you can refer to my previous tutorial on rigging. Okay, so I have my neck, one more here, and somewhere around there, and the head. All right, and the next one would be for our lower jaw. So I'm just gonna set it up somewhere around here and all the way out here. All right, and I'm gonna parent it to my ear joint. Okay, so that I will be able to open up my jaw. And perhaps I should move it a little bit more. All right, so once you have that, you can go ahead and parent all of this back to this ear joint or whatever name you want to call it. All right, so this is only a setup for our facial skin. We need another joint for our eyeball. All right, so I'm just gonna create a layer for this and just gonna hide this for the time being. So I'm just gonna create a joint somewhere around here. Alright, so I will have to name this guy the left eyeball joint. All right. And when I create my eyeball, really I would always I would usually just set it as individual mesh until the need arises to really combine all the meshes together. Again, this is because this will give us exact values of where our joint should be. All right, so 0.341, 0.341, 16.442, and 0.391. All right. Now this is so that my eyeballs would follow really strictly based on my joint. So we can give it a test by parenting my, let's say, my left eyeball to my left eyeball joint. Okay, and as we know, the joint is the pivot, so we gotta make sure that it's not gonna be moving way too far away. For example, um, if I were to move my joint somewhere around here and I parent this across, this will not be correct. All right. So once we have the eyeball joint, again, select the eyeball joint and parent it to my ear joint. Okay, and perhaps I would want to make my eyeball joint a little bigger to differentiate between the rest of the joints. All right. Okay, so once you have done that, the next thing again we need to do is to, of course, this would have done with together with the rest of the joints for the body. We would need to do our joint orient correctly. All right, so you can go to modifier again, freeze transform, orient, apply, and if we to go back to our animation, skeleton, orient joint options. Okay, now just gonna use Y da da da. Okay. All right, again, just make sure that they are similar and we should be all good to go. All right, so the next thing, of course, is to mirror my joints. So again, based on YZ, and I'm going to search for L underscore and replace it with R underscore. So select that, apply, apply. Cheekbones and the corner of my mouth. All right, so I would have something similar to work on right now. Okay, something good to work with. Now, the first thing that I would want to do is to skin my eyeballs. All right, so let me go ahead and freeze my transformation. Oops, let's see. And in fact, before I freeze my transformation, because this is right now two individual models, so I will mesh combine the two, and I'm gonna delete the history. Call this the eyeballs. All right. So the next thing is to select my root joint, select the eyeballs. And again, if you really want to, you can again later on we can really skin it slowly one by one. At this point of time, I'm just gonna skin the eyeballs. Go back to my animation, skin, bind skin, smooth skin, sorry, smooth bind options. And again, I'm just gonna set the influence, maximum influence to 3. Gonna set this normalize width to interactive. Actually, let me reset it. Interactive 3 and hit apply. All right. So first of all, once I've skinned the eyeballs, and if I were to rotate this, my eyeball joint, it's gonna look funky, and that is because we need to set all the weight to my left eyeball joint. So I can easily go to my window, general editors, and component. Right, so I'm just gonna select the vertices of my left eyeball, okay, and make sure to go to Smooth Skins tab. So this will reflect all the weight of whichever is influencing the eyeball. All right, so I'm gonna look for left eyeball joints. Okay, select all of this and hit 1. And this just means that my left eyeball joint will have complete influence over the vertices. So again, just to do a quick test, I can select my left eyeball joint now and make some rotations, and yep. Right, so everything is being influenced by this joint. So I'm just going to do the same for the other eyeball. So again, window, general, add, component, add. I look for my right eyeball joint, select out of this. You can pretty much again left mouse button and hold and drag all the way down. Okay, and hit 1. Oh, sorry, got the wrong joint. Okay, should be this one. And let me do this for the left. All right, so right now, quick tests. Again, it's good to do tests before we continue, just to make sure that they are moving correctly. All right, so once we have that set up, we are going to create a simple control. I'm just gonna go create a circle and something like that, and move it right to the center. All right. Just gonna scale this down and And again, depending on what kind of shape that you would want to give, it's always good to give your controller some kind of shape. So I'm just gonna call this the eye control. All right. And again, at this point of time, you can always delete history if you want to get rid of whatever's in the lists. So I'm just going to bring it forward. All right. And the next thing that I want to do is to go ahead and create a locator. And let's see. This locator. All right. Snap it to the where the pupils are going to be. And just scale it down. And I'm going to call this guy the left eyeball locator. All right, duplicate and snap it to the other eyeball. And of course, gotta name it again to the right eyeball. All right. And the next thing is I'm just gonna move this to somewhere around there. If you want to move it exactly to where the control is, again, simply look at the values and 2.1, 2.123, 2.123, and 2.123. Again, it's not necessary, but if you really prefer to be clean and precise, then definitely this is a good way to do it. Okay, so the next thing for my eye control, again, before you forget and I forget, we need to freeze transform. All right. So now that's all good. So the next thing is to select our control. All right. Select the eyeball. Okay. So I'm selecting my left eyeball locator and left eyeball joints. Okay. Just gonna go to constraint, and I'm gonna go to aim options. Just gonna reset all of this and hit add. So right now, all right. So then, again, right now it's not gonna show anything, because we have yet to skin our eyeball. So select the eyeball. Again, select the joint, skin, and again, line skin. All right. So if I were to do a quick test, you can tell that something is moving. But again, we will need to select the because for some reason it's not registering earlier, so we need to do this again. So window, general add, component add. Okay, left eyeball joint. One. Close this. So let me do a test. Okay, so right now it's pointing to the right direction. So again, for this other eyeball, select that. Go to window, general add, component add. right eyeball joint. Close it. All right. So right now this, oops, I have not set this up. So select again the locator, select the eyeball joints, constraint, aim. Now, if by default the eyeball is switching directions, it's because of its aim vector. So we can select the locator and go to its attribute editor. Okay. And again, you can call up the attribute editor by hitting Control A. So we are going to look at the eyeball aim constraint, and we're going to look at the aim vector. So right now the aim vector is at X. Again, this is X, Y, Z. So it's looking at X. Really, this is not where we want to look at. So set it to 0 and put it in the Z so that it's pointing the right direction. This is where we want our eyeballs to look at. All right. And if pointing to Z, the eyeball is looking at the opposite, then you can just add a negative sign so that it will point it again to the right direction. All right. So right now I can select my two locators and parent it to my control, and I would have my two eyeballs pointing to wherever my eye control will be. And looking at my eye control, it's again a good practice to set up a limit to where my translate will be. So if you have already textured your eyeballs, it would be much easier. So looking at this, perhaps 0.335 is the maximum. I'm just gonna set it to 0.35, and this one would be minus 0.35. All right. So likewise, Y. And again, Z, I'm not really touching it, so I'm just gonna set it to 0. All right. And let me also fix up my left eyeball constraint. And right now this is not correct. Okay. And again, because earlier on I might have changed certain values unknowingly. So if you ever need to remove your constraint, you can select the locator and the eyeball joint constraint and remove targets. All right, so this would go back to its original. And right now I can again select this. Select my locator, select my constraint, sorry, select my eye joint and hit aim. All right. So looking at this, and let's take a look. Okay, again, the XYZ is dependent on your axis. All right, so gotta make sure that your axis is right to whichever you're pointing at. Okay, so you can always, if one axis doesn't make sense, you can always test it. 1.0 simply means it's pointing to that direction 100%. Okay. All right, so right now, I will end the part one of my tutorial here, based on the eyeball, um, because for the rest of the controls, we will be using expressions, meaning mail scripts to drive our controls. All right. So thank you for watching part one of this demonstration.